Namaste. Greetings to everyone. A very warm welcome once again to this series of talks titled Contemplations on Amma's Teaching. Amma's teachings emphasize the deeper truths of life in a very simple way. Her teachings, though simple, are profound and resonate with practicality. These teachings are universal, transcending the boundaries of faith, culture, and time. Today, the teaching which we are going to contemplate upon is something that Amma often says. Creator and creation are not two, but one. In this episode of our series, we will go deep into this very teaching. That is, creator and creation are not two, but one. Without further ado, I now request Moksha Mataji to walk us through this contemplative journey.
Namaskaram, everyone. Once again, welcome to this series of contemplations on Amma's teachings. Today, we will reflect on this profound teaching from Amma, which says, Creator and creation are not two, but one. In Malayalam, the way Amma puts it is, Srishti Srishta Randalla Onnan. Creator and creation are not two, but one. At the first glance, this teaching might seem very abstract. But if we deeply contemplate on it, it reveals a very profound truth, a timeless truth, in fact, which has been echoed all through the Indian scriptures, especially Vedas and Upanishads, and even Bhagavad Gita. And to a large extent, now, even in the modern science. Humans throughout the world, they have always been intrigued by such questions. For example, what is this creation? Where did this creation come from? Humans have pondered upon such questions since the very beginning of human civilization. Initially, they used to look at nature and then wonder, is there someone or something that created this universe, the universe in which we live? If there is a creator at all, where is it? Is it within this universe or is it beyond the universe? Can we communicate with that creator if there is one? So such questions, such inquiry has been the cornerstone of human thought. Especially when it comes to Indian philosophy, which we call as darshana. Philosophy in India is called darshana. Such profound inquiries have been there in almost all our scriptures. So these are not just some modern questions that humans are thinking now in the past 10 years or 100 years or so. So even though this might look quite poetic and philosophical, but we will see how it actually is in tune with the modern findings of science. So let us take a step-by-step journey together and let's try to uncover the essence of this teaching. By default, our experience in this world is dualistic. We see a world out there and we see ourselves and other individuals in this world. Right? So there is a clear separation which we feel between ourselves and everything around us. There is me, there is you, there is creator, there is creation. Creator, of course, is a speculative thing. But definitely we see the creation, we see other people. So this kind of separation between me and the rest, this duality forms the basis of our everyday experience. So it is very natural that we end up thinking or assuming that creator of this universe, if at all, is different from us, because definitely we don't have an experience that we created this world. Definitely there has to be some cause, because for every effect there must be a cause. We all have studied this cause and effect theory. Karya karana. Karya is effect, karana is cause. So there must be a cause for a particular effect. So if there is a world, there must be something that created this world or someone. So this creator creation divide is very natural to our dualistic minds. When I say dualistic mind, I mean a mind which sees a divide between me and the rest of this world or this creation. And that is why many traditions around the world, they believe that God is separate from us. Some even believe that God is sitting up in the clouds or maybe in heaven or in some other world, who created this world, and now that God is watching this world, even sometimes punishing us for the bad deeds and also rewarding us for the good deeds. These are different beliefs that people have. Now, the question which we need to, first of all, think is this separation real between the creator or the God and this creation? Or could it be just a fundamental perception error? Are we really putting our trust on the beliefs or assumptions? Or are we really trusting our experience? So this teaching of Amma invites us to challenge all beliefs and assumptions. Amma says that Amma does not believe in any God sitting up in the clouds. In fact, Amma even says that you people are my God. And by serving humanity, by serving Mother Nature, by serving this creation, we are, in fact, serving God. Now, let's try to understand this more deeply from different angles, both scientific as well as the spiritual. Modern science, if you look at it, gives different theories of creation. For example, at one point of time, there was a steady state model of creation, which proposed that this universe has no beginning, no end, and it's in a constant state of expansion, and the new matter is being created to maintain its density. Right? But this is an outdated theory now, because scientists have observed certain things like CMB radiations, constant microwave background radiations, which are not in line with this theory. So then there's this another theory, Big Bang model, which we all know of. It's a very, very famous theory of creation. And it says that, it all started from a very small infinitesimal point, and there was a big bang, and that is how the creation came into picture. Of course, certain observations like the microwave background radiations, the cosmic microwave background radiations, CMB, they are in favor of this Big Bang model of creation. But even then, there are certain flaws in the theory which it's not able to explain. For example, it can't explain what caused that singularity, that infinitesimal point, which then, there was a big bang in that. It cannot explain why 95% of the universe is still mysterious, the dark matter and the dark energy. Also, the rapid extension after the Big Bang, immediately after the Big Bang, it lacks direct evidence. So there are some loopholes in that theory also. There are other scientists who are talking about string theory and quantum gravity models. But again, they are very speculative, and they require a lot of further evidence. They're more theoretical. There are a lot of equations of the string theory and everything. It talks about number of possible multiverses, multiple universes. But even though it's a very mathematically elegant model, there are still issues and lack of evidences. So some physicists do believe in it, but some don't. Then there are other models like cyclic models, which say that universe undergoes infinite cycles of expansion and contraction, the Big Bang and the Big Crunch, both. The classical Big Bang model doesn't talk about crunch. It only talks about expansion, one way. Time is almost linear there. But the cyclic models talk about Big Bang and the Big Crunch. Now, again, there are some loopholes here also. Then there are other models called such as quantum gravity models, where it is suggested that space-time itself has a quantum structure, right? But again, here also, like other theories and models, there is lack of experimental verification. I'm just giving you a very high-level overview, not going into the details because we don't have time for that. If you don't understand this, just don't worry about it. But just for the sake of information, I'm telling this. So far, whatever models we have, which science has given us, the Big Bang model offers a very comprehensive explanation. Because, as I said, the cosmic microwave background radiation, even Hubble's law, and many other things are in line with the Big Bang model. But one of the common misconceptions among people is that Big Bang model is the final and it fully explains the origin of the universe. No, it doesn't. If you ask a scientist, he or she will tell you that Big Bang model does not explain the origin of the universe completely. As an example, Big Bang model doesn't explain how time was created, how space was created. Some even question that this infinitesimal point, where was it? If there was no space also, because obviously space is also part of creation, where was that point? So there are still some unanswered questions which science is trying to probe into. And of course, it doesn't also explain how energy was caused. all it does is it describes the emergence of the present universe from an ultra dense, high temperature initial state. Right? So that is the landscape of science so far with respect to how this creation happened. Now, if you look at Indian philosophy, of course, both Indian philosophy and modern science, they both actually agree, or rather there is a shared acknowledgement that universe is a mystery. But definitely it it needs exploration and it invites exploration from humans. The Indian approach, especially the Upanishads, is of direct realization, a journey, an inward journey to discover the eternal and infinite reality. Unlike modern science, which is looking outwards to find the real cause of this creation, Indian philosophy is asking us to look within at our own experience. So, in the Indian landscape, Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara. Jiva means the individual, you, me. Jagat means this world. And Ishvara is the creator, or you can say God. I won't say God because God is more of a Western biblical term. There are a lot of differences between what is referred to as Ishvara in the Indian philosophy and God in the Western tradition. But for the sake of simplicity, let's say Ishvara is God. So Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara, the individual, the world, and the God or the creator. Who is this individual? Who's this Jiva? Who is God or the creator? And what is this world? These three inquiries were the fundamental inquiries in Indian philosophy. And our sages realized that this world is not just inert matter. This primordial stuff is not just physical, but it is imbued with pure consciousness. And they said that this whole creation is fundamentally that pure consciousness. And in that pure consciousness, there is an apparent manifestation of Jagat, which we call this world. And that apparent manifestation is described through a cosmic rhythm of contraction and expansion, the Sankocha and the Vikasa, which suggests that universe continuously cycles between these states of expansion and contraction. There is a Srishti, and then there is a Sthiti, and then there is a Pralaya. There is a creation, there is a sustenance of that creation, and then there is the dissolution. And then again, the cycle continues. There's a very interesting sukta, a hymn called Nasadiya Sukta in Rig Veda. It is, if I'm not wrong, it is the 129th hymn in the 10th mandala of Rig Veda. It's a hymn. But it's very profound because it tries to go deeper into this very mystery of creation. Tama asit tamasa gulham agre praketam salilam sarvamaidam. Like that it goes. There was neither non-existence nor existence then. It's talking about that uh, point where creation happened. There was no sky nor any heaven. At that time, there was neither death nor immortality. There was no appearance of night, no appearance of day. There was just darkness covered by darkness. Very mystical and poetical. Darkness covered by darkness in the beginning. And all of this was undistinguishable, meaning it was one undivided reality. That's all. And then the Suktam says, who really knows? Who is there who can declare that I know this? I know what happened, who created, where did this creation come from? Nobody can say. Even gods, the deities, gods meaning even the natural forces were called gods. The water, fire, air, even the gods, they don't know it because they were subsequent to the creation of the world. They came later. So we don't know whether there was a adhyaksha, that is the exact word that is mentioned in Nasadiya Suktam. Adhyaksha. It doesn't talk about any god sitting up in the clouds. It says we don't know whether there was a adhyaksha or the supervisor uh, who overseed the creation when it happened. If there was, maybe that entity knows how this happened, or maybe even that entity doesn't know. Iyam visrishtir yata ababhuva yadiva dadhe yadivana yo asya adhyakshaha parame vyomanso angaveda yadivana veda. That is from that Nasadiya Sutta. So it presents a very clear picture of the mystery. Nobody can ever say how this creation happened because there was no one to witness it at that time. In fact, there was no time at that point of time. Even time and space are parts of the creation. And now science is proving it, that space and time are not fundamental realities of this universe. I have spoken about this in my earlier talks, that at the Planck level, both space and time, they are clearly seen as just concepts. They don't have existence when we go further. So we have to realize this truth that even space and time are part of creation. I remember a very beautiful Hindi movie song, which kind of depicts the same kind of mystery. It says, "Ohre taal mile nadi ke jal mein, nadi mile sagar mein, सागर मिले कौन से जल में कोई जाने ना। ओहरे ताल मिले नदी के जल में, नदी मिले सागर में, सागर मिले कौन से जल में कोई जाने ना। ओहरे ताल मिले नदी के जल में." Meaning the water of the streams sorry, it says the water of the pond, tal means pond, goes and meets the water of the rivers, nadi. And the water of the rivers goes and meets the water of the ocean. But where does this water of the ocean go? Nobody knows. So similarly, this world, we see people being born, people dying every day. We see plants growing up and then becoming extinct. All this is happening in this creation, yet we don't know where it is ultimately emerging from, or where is it ultimately getting dissolved into. So notice that, as I said earlier, this Nasadiya Suktam of Rig Veda, it doesn't envision a human like God creating this universe. It just refers to that one unmanifested, undivided. And it suggests that perhaps that one transformed itself into this manifested world. So now remember, this is exactly what Amma is saying. The creator has become the creation. It's almost on the same lines that Rigveda Nasadiya Suktam is talking about creation. Even in Bhagavad Gita, you will see in 13th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that, "Oh Arjuna, I will reveal to you something that will give you immortality. It is the knowledge of beginningless Brahman." Brahman is the ultimate reality in Upanishads. Brahman. It's not Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, not that. Brahman is the ultimate reality. So Krishna says, I will tell you about Brahman, which lies beyond both existence and non-existence. Similar to what Nasadiya Suktam is saying. Neyam yat tat pravakshami yad jnatva amritam ashrute. Anadimat param brahma na sattanna sad uchyate. So Bhagavad Gita also same idea is coming. Then Krishna says, Bahirantascha bhutanam charam acharam. Sorry. Bahirantascha bhutanam acharam charam evacha. Sukshamatvat tadvigneyam durastham chantika chatat. Same again in the 13th chapter. That Krishna says that reality exists, that Brahman exists outside as well as inside all living beings. In the moving and the non-moving. Moving means like animals, birds. Not moving means trees and inanimate objects. It is everywhere. It pervades everything. It is subtle, and hence it is incomprehensible. Those who do not know it, for them it is very far. Those who know it, it is very near. So whatever this Nasadiya Suktam is saying, the Vedas are talking about, Upanishads are talking about, in the later Indian traditions, this idea then got slightly transformed, especially in the Tantra traditions, Tantric traditions, into Bindu, a single infinitesimal point of concentrated potential, Bindu. So in the Tantric tradition, they represent chakras in the form of triangles. And then there is a circle and so forth. And in the center, there is just a dot, a point. So that is the Bindu. That Bindu is symbolic of the nature of evolution. So it suggests that the whole universe was just a small, single infinitesimal point, one single Bindu, and then it manifests as the world. This is very much in line with the Big Bang theory. I wonder whether the proponents of Big Bang theory or the those who came up with this theory, probably they had some knowledge of Tantra. Anyway, that is just an assumption. So now imagine that an entire universe is compressed into one infinitesimal point, right? Bindu. And then tantric traditions also talk about nada, bindu nada kala. Bindu nada kala. Nada means sound. So big bang sound. And Devi in tantric traditions, one of the names of Devi is Bindu Nada Kalatita, who is beyond this, because obviously the Devi in the tantric traditions is seen as the creatress, the creator of this creation. So she has to be beyond it. She cannot be uh, within it, even though she is immanent in it, but she is beyond it also. She pervades the entire creation, but she is also beyond the creation. That is a tantric way of looking. The Upanishads talk about Brahman as something that pervades the creation and is also without the creation. Creation is secondary, creation is not primary. So, Upanishads, especially, they went deeper into this question of creation. They started by asking, when I say Upanishads, I mean the sages, the saints, because Upanishads is nothing but the realization of the sages and saints. Those sages and saints, they asked these fundamental questions. Who is it who's trying to unravel the mystery of creation? Who is it? Of course, it is we, you, me. So let's first talk about who is trying to unravel the mystery of creation. Is there a creation without one who is trying to know about it? Is there a creation without one who is trying to know about it? This is a very deep question. So slowly, the sages and saints went deeper and deeper into this. Who is this person? Who is this me that I think I am? Who is aware of this world? What is this awareness? What is this awareness? How am I aware? In the modern scientific terms, you will, something parallel to this is hard problem of consciousness. Who is this who is aware? Am I this body? How can body be aware of something? Or am I something beyond the body? Who is aware of this world? Who's asking this question? What is this creation? Who is asking this question? Who created this universe? Hard problem of consciousness, of course, goes into other aspects also, whether the material objects, it talks about, that emergent properties of matter. And of course, it doesn't believe in that, but it talks about those things. How can brain or how can inert matter be aware, conscious? Now, the sages and the saints of ancient India, they finally realized that if you want to know this world, you need to know yourself first. That's a revolutionary, uh, uh, I would say, an insight. It is a revolutionary insight. If you need to know the world, you need to look at yourself first. You need to know yourself first. Science also is kind of moving towards such realization, but I think it will take some time for science to realize, because science needs experiments, science needs proofs in the world outside. But there are certain phenomena, certain observations, like, for example, observer effect, where science clearly tells us that the observed universe, the way we perceive the universe, is affected by the observer. Those of you who have interest in science and might have read about dual nature of particles such as light, electron, etc., photons, you know what I'm talking about. The collapse of the wave function and how observer affects it is well known. So science is now more and more coming to that realization that there is some very deep connection between the observer and the observed world. And sages and saints realized it in their deep contemplations, that the answer lies in knowing yourself. And if you know yourself, the very essence that you are is the same essence which is appearing as this universe. For example, in one of the Upanishads, I think it's Mundaka Upanishad, it says, Sayatha Somyekena Mritpindena Sarvam Mrinmayam Vignatam Syat Vacharambhanam Vikaro Namadheyam Mrittikyeteva Satyam. Means, just as by knowing a lump of clay, you know everything that is made out of clay. Because everything that is made out of clay, be it a pot or be it a jar or be it a cup, it is all made of clay. The only difference from pot to cup to jar to glass, the only difference is that there is a modification of the form and the name which we have given to it. The form of a cup is different from the form of a jar. The form of a jar is different from the form of a glass. But it's all made of clay. And we are giving it different names: jar, cup, and so on. While the truth is only one, and that is clay. So the point that Upanishad is trying to make is that by knowing the fundamental principle, the fundamental reality, which we also call as Brahman in Upanishadic terms, you will know everything. And that Brahman, that fundamental reality, is your own reality. You are not just this body mind. You are that self, that Brahman. So these analogies point us toward the truth, but don't take these analogies literally, because these analogies have their limits. It's an example. There is no real example of the self or the fundamental reality. But then when we have to speak, when we have to contemplate and understand these things, we have to use some examples. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also, it is said that one who knows the eternal self as the essence knows everything, because everything is Brahman. It's not different. Etam hi nityam atmanam viditam vijanatah. Brahma bhavam ajanatah. Sarvam hi Brahma. That is from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So, in general, what we find is that Indian scriptures, especially the Upanishads, they have this revolutionary idea that you and this creation are fundamentally the same reality, the same essence. So there is no separation between you and creation that way. Even though there is an apparent separation, if you talk about one body versus another body, you versus other individuals, at that level, there is a separation. And it is called the Vyavaharika Satya, the empirical reality, the relative reality, the relative truth. There is a separation. But the Paramarthika Satya, the absolute truth is there is no separation. You and creation are fundamentally the same reality. And now let's talk about the creator or the God or Ishvara. Ishvara or creator is also fundamentally the same reality because there is only one indivisible reality, just like that example of clay and different things made of clay. That reality, Brahman, is given different names. When it appears as an individual, it is called Jiva. When it appears as this world, it is called Jagat. When it appears as the creator of this creation, it is called Ishvara. Let me give another analogy from Upanishads. It is the analogy of gold and the golden ornaments. You might have heard it also. The gold bangle, for example, and the gold chain, they look different. The form is different. They have a different name. One is called gold bangle, one is called gold chain. They have different names, but they have different form, different names, but they are essentially nothing but gold. So if the goldsmith wants, he can just melt them both and make something else out of them. So essentially, they are same gold. Similarly, creator and creation are one because the essence is same. The fundamental reality is same. They are not different. So that is the core of Amma's teaching. Creator and creation are not two but one. This teaching is pointing us to the fact that we must transcend the illusion of duality. We must transcend the illusion of duality. It's an illusion. That is why even in Chandogya Upanishad, it is said, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, Tajjalaniti Shanta Upasita. Meaning, all this is Brahman, that ultimate fundamental reality. And everything we see, it arises from that fundamental reality, exists in it, and then merges back in it. This is in Chandogya Upanishad. Again, it is pointing to the same teaching that creator and creation are one indivisible reality. The creation is nothing but the manifestation of the creator's essence. Right? There is another teaching in Chandogya. It says, Sadeva Saumya idam agramasid, ekam eva advitiyam. Sadeva Saumya Idam Agramasid Ekameva Advitiyam. So the sage Uddalika is teaching his son Shvetaketu, and he says, "Oh my dear, in the beginning there was only one reality, one being, without a second. There was nothing else or no one else. Non-dual reality. And that is what is our fundamental truth." Bhagavad Gita also, Lord Krishna, in 9th chapter, says, Maya tatmidam sarvam jagad avyaktam amurtina. Maya tatmidam sarvam jagad vyaktam murtena matsthani sarva bhutani na chaham teshu avasthita. Very beautifully said. That by me, when Krishna says me here, he's talking about that ultimate reality. Krishna is not identifying himself as an individual here. By me, by that ultimate reality, by Brahman, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings exist in me, but I am not confined to them because I pervade everything in this universe. I cannot be confined. So again, it is revealing that truth of Amma's teaching, that creator permeates every aspect of creation. It's not different from the creation sitting up in the clouds and creating something. Very, very fundamental, beautiful, in fact. Now, as I told you earlier, we must remember that Ishvara, as mentioned in our scriptures, is the creator of the creation at an empirical level, relative level. When we see this creation as separate due to ignorance, avidya, then as a concession it is said that, okay, if you see this creation as different from you, know that Ishvara is the creator. Ishvara is the creator. So at a relative level, it is as true, Ishvara is as true as you and me. But at the Paramarthika level, at the absolute truth level, the Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara, the individual, the creation and the creator, Ishvara, are fundamentally same. This world is an apparent manifestation. Now, when I say apparent manifestation or transformation, I'm referring to Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya's Vivartavada, not going into the details of it, but just for your information, which basically says that there is no real creation happening. Real in the sense, Brahman is not, or the creator is not changing into something else. That fundamental reality remains unchanged, but there is an appearance. There is an appearance of creation. Because there is avidya, there is ignorance. By default, in all, it's naisargika. By default, it's on everyone. And that is why the need to realize this truth by reading scriptures, by doing satsanga, by listening to this great truth and contemplating on it, so that you can become free of this ignorance. It is an appearance, and the example which is usually given is of the snake and the rope. Imagine that you are going into a room where there is not enough light and there is a rope lying there. It is just a rope. But because of lack of enough light, when you see the rope, somehow you feel that it is a snake and you feel afraid. But then someone comes and switches on a brighter light, and immediately you realize, oh, it is not a snake, it is a rope. So that light is the knowledge. Light is like knowledge. And that low light, lack of enough light, is ignorance. So when we are ignorant of the higher truth, we think of this world as something different from us. Just like we think of the rope as a snake. But when there is light, when there is knowledge, when we realize the fundamental truth of our own self, then we also realize that it is the same self which appears as this world. So at the relative realm, as long as we are ignorant about the highest truth, the creator and creation might look different, but fundamentally they are same. Fundamentally they are same. From the highest standpoint, there is no different creator and no different creation. There is only one undivided reality, Brahman. But at the relative level, we say, even the Upanishads, even in Advaita Vedanta, we say Ishvara is the creator who governs the universe. And Ishvara is often compared to a spider. Spider, beautiful example. Just like a spider weaves its web, similarly, Ishvara creates the creation. And it's a very beautiful example because notice that the spider creates the web from a fluid which comes out of its own body. It doesn't bring some raw material from outside and then create the world or then create the web. Right? The spider doesn't bring any material from outside to create the web. The material is coming out of its own. And the spider itself is creating the web. Similarly, Ishvara, the creator, when it has to create this creation, it doesn't use something outside of this creation to create a creation. Because if that was the case, then the question will come, where did that raw material come from? So it will become a cyclic infinite regress. It will be a logical flaw. So that is why it is said that Ishvara is both the material cause as well as the intelligent cause. Like spider, it is intelligent enough to know how to weave the web. And it also has the material. So material cause is also spider. Intelligent cause is also spider. So Ishvara knows how to create this creation. So it's a material cause. Technically, it's called Upadana Karana. And it is also the intelligent cause. Technically, it is called Nimitta Karana. Both Nimitta and Upadana Karana is Ishvara. And I think this example is given somewhere in Mundaka Upanishad. Again, it denotes the metaphor. This metaphor denotes the unity of creator and the creation. Yathorna nabihi srijate grihnate cha yatha prithivyam aushadayah sambhavanti. That's what I remember right now. So just as a spider spins its web from itself and then withdraws it back, so too does the universe arise from Brahman and merge back into it. A similar concept is in Ishavasya Upanishad also. Ishavasyamidam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagat. Ishavasyamidam sarvam. All this that we see in this universe, it's pervaded by Ishvara, by the Lord, by the Creator. So, even though fundamentally there is no difference between Ishvara and this creation, at the relative level, we speak of this creation. So then there is also a concept of Maya, the cosmic illusion. The cosmic illusion due to which we are not able to realize the oneness, the unity of this creation. The cosmic illusion because of which there is duality. And once we transcend that cosmic illusion through knowledge, we realize the oneness of the creator and the creation, because they are fundamentally the same reality. I already gave you the examples of gold and ornaments, the clay and the things which are made out of clay. All those examples are pointers to that realization, so that we understand what our fundamental essence is. Another example which is very often used is that of waves and the ocean. There are so many waves in the ocean we see, but fundamentally, those waves are nothing but water. One wave may look very different from another wave. And just imagine for a moment that waves could think. So one wave could think, oh, there are so many waves around me and I am different from them. And may even ponder, what is this ocean? Why are there so many waves, right? Similar is the case with us. We are like a wave in that infinite ocean of consciousness, undivided consciousness. But when we appear as wave, somehow because of that ignorance, we end up thinking that we are different from everything else. But just as waves are not separate from the ocean, fundamentally, they are nothing but water. Just a different name we are giving it, a wave 1 or a wave 2 or a wave 3, if we have to label them. And they may have different forms, but essentially they are same water. So that is a very, very deep understanding of this creation and the creator. What we see in the Upanishads, a very, very deep understanding. And Amma's teaching is right in line with that. In fact, there is one more philosophical tradition, which is not part of Shad Darshanas, but it's also a very, very important Indian tradition called Kashmir Shaivism. And Kashmir Shaivism, in fact, this creator has become the creation. This teaching is even more in line with Kashmir Shaivism, because the creator, Paramashiva, actually expresses itself as the creation through its inherent power called Shakti. And in Kashmir Shaivism, the creation is not just an appearance, an illusory appearance like we say in Advaita Vedanta, but rather in Kashmir Shaivism, this creation is the real manifestation of Paramashiva. Shiva in Kashmir Shaivism is not the Shiva of Kailasha. It is not the deity that Kashmir Shaivism talks about as Shiva. Shiva is the fundamental reality, the Parama Shiva. So this doctrine of Abhasavada in Kashmir Shaivism is even more in line with this teaching that creator and creation have become one, because in Kashmir Shaivism, world is real, and it's a conscious emanation of Shiva through Shakti. Shiva is the creator and Shakti is the creative power, and they are inseparable. The Ardhanarishwara Sankalpa fundamentally denotes that. Inseparable, they are inseparable. In Advaita Vedanta, they talk about Brahman and Maya, right? In Kashmir Shaivism, they talk about Shiva and Shakti. Maya creates an illusion of the world, but in Kashmir Shaivism, Shakti creates the real world. And this world is not different from Shiva. Shakti is the creative power of Shiva. They are inseparable. How can then there be another world? The same Shiva appears as this creation. So this creation is nothing but a pulsating expression of Shiva. So you see how deep this teaching is. And more science is going deeper into this mystery of creation. It is finding that the truth is perhaps in line with the Upanishadic teachings. Many physicists are saying that Upanishads could be perhaps the final ultimate truth. Because physicists are now discovering that even at the quantum level, the distinctions we otherwise think of real, they disappear. There are no distinctions at the quantum level. Many distinctions disappear. Scientists are talking about interconnected energy. I remember one of the Nobel laureates, I think Erwin Schrödinger, he was very much inspired by Vedanta. And one of his saying is, the plurality that we perceive, the plurality that we perceive is merely an appearance. The unity is the reality. This is Erwin Schrödinger. So at the quantum level, science is now finding that these distinctions which we see between matter, energy, space, these are all illusions. Even Einstein, Albert Einstein, he once said, a human being is part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He, meaning human being, he experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest. And Einstein calls it a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. Avidya, which Upanishad is saying avidya, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This is very much in line with the concept of Maya and avidya. So what science is teaching us is coming slowly in line with what Upanishads have told. Even string theory, that's another model, proposed model, which is trying to find what is the fundamental reality of this creation. They talk about strings, not particles, strings of energy, the strings that resonate at different frequencies to form the building blocks of matter and forces. Even that is slowly going towards the same truth that Upanishads talk about. There are some theoretical physicists who talk about unified field. they are also moving towards the same realization that there is perhaps one undivided reality which is appearing as this creation. Quantum physics talks about superposition, that particles exist in a state of superposition. And because of that, they are not localized until they are observed. Earlier also, I told you about that observer effect. So this challenges the notion of separatedness. And very strongly, it points to that interconnected non-dual reality. And now even recent findings of quantum entanglement, they are showing that there is a deeper interconnection between seemingly different parts of this universe. And it aligns very much with this teaching that creator and creation are not two but one. Because this teaching doesn't actually limit itself to creator and creation. It is even talking about so-called dualities which we perceive within the creation itself, between you and me. Also, there is actually fundamentally no separatedness. I remember a beautiful, another saying of Amma. She says, I am the you in you, and you are the I in me. Again, pointing to the same eternal truth. This teaching has a lot of practical implications, positive implications, because once we understand this, we change the way we see ourselves and this world. If we understand this, then we are not just limited beings struggling and suffering in this hostile world, so-called hostile world. We are the expressions of the infinite. Even our transformations come in our relationships. Our relationships can be deeply transformed by this understanding. When we see others completely separate from us, the quality of relationship will not be the same as it would be if we could see a fundamental oneness between us and the others. When we see others as separate, we compare, we compete, we conflict. But if we see others as manifestations of the same undivided reality, or let us say the same creator has become you and me, even at the relative level, if we take creator as something different. But the same creator has become you and me. So love and compassion naturally flow. And Amma's life is a perfect example of this. She is a realized master. But again, her boundless compassion arises and outflows because she sees that oneness in everyone. I remember that one journalist, one TV reporter, once asked Amma, Amma, your devotees, your followers think of you as God. What is your vision of God? Who do you think is God? How do you see God? And Amma said something beautiful. She said, when I open my eyes, I see nothing but God. You are my God. And I worship you. What a beautiful, beautiful thing. If everybody could see like that, this world would be, in fact, heaven. We would be able to engage with this world in a very beautiful way. I am reminded of one more verse from Bhagavad Gita, from the 13th chapter. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram Vinashyatsva vinashyanta yah pashyati sapashyati. Samam pashyan hi sarvatra samavasthitam ishwaram. Na hinstyatmanatmanam tato yati param gatim. Meaning, one who sees the supreme, let's say, creator, or that supreme reality abiding equally in all the beings, one who sees that imperishable within the perishable also, that person alone, that jnani, that knowledgeable person alone, truly sees. Otherwise, you don't see. You are in an illusion otherwise. And once you see like that, once you really see what needs to be seen, you see Lord equally present everywhere. Such a person will never harm anyone. Such a person will attain the supreme goal of this life, the realization, the moksha, the liberation. So it's not, this teaching of Amma is not just a philosophical concept. It is a direct pointer to the ultimate reality, which Upanishads, Vedas are pointing at. And science is also now coming very, very close to the same thing. It is not saying so, but it is quite obvious that many findings from quantum physics, some of them I mentioned already, observer effect, quantum entanglement, duality, the dual nature, all of this is pointing to this truth that there is one fundamental undivided entity. So we need to see that fundamental undivided reality. Then we can appreciate this teaching really. So this creator, Ishvara, is here right now in every breath, every thought, every experience. If we see this truth, we can recognize the sacred truth in everything and live with that awareness. And it will definitely transform the way we think of ourselves, others, our relationships, everything. It can revolutionize our life. It can make our life so beautiful and complete. Unfortunately, many people think that creator is someone who's punishing us, someone who's rewarding us, and someone who needs to be pacified or made happy. We need to entertain God so that we can get favors from God. All these understandings are foolish understandings. Amma says many a times that, our relationship with God has become like business. We go to temples, temples or churches or, mosque or wherever, and we have a long list of prayers. But these prayers are really not prayers in the real sense. They are just demands. And then we offer something, maybe in the temple or the church or the mosque or somewhere. We may offer money, we may offer things. But ultimately, we are trying to make a business deal between us and the God. And such beliefs are rooted in this dual understanding, in this wrong understanding that God is different from this creation. The real service to God, Amma says, is in serving this creation. The real service is to help others. The real service is to be of use to everyone around you. That is the real worship of God. Of course, there is nothing wrong in going to temples or churches. But when we go there, we must pray that may we be able to realize this ultimate truth that creator and creation are one. Then going to temple, going to church, going to mosque becomes worth it. Otherwise, it is not really going to make us spiritual. We may think we are becoming spiritual by going to temple, church, mosque. And then we end up quarreling with each other in the name of religion, in the name of God. If we look at our history, in the human history, maximum bloodshed has happened in the name of religion, in the name of God. And it is happening even right now, unfortunately. In 21st century, when we have made so much advancement in science and technology, we are still killing each other in the name of God and religion because we have failed to understand who this God really is. As long as we have dualistic notions of God, as long as we see God as something different from this creation, as long as we see God as something different from living beings and nature around us. When I say living beings, I mean humans, I mean animals, birds, trees, everything. This is all God. By exploiting the nature, Mother Nature, we are exploiting God. This is a disservice to God. By killing other people, we are harming God. How can we be spiritual or religious if we are exploiting Mother Nature, if we are killing other people? We cannot be just by going to temple or church or mosque or Girijagar or some other place of worship doesn't make you spiritual. You can go to temple and mosque and church and Gurudwara throughout your life thinking you are spiritual, but unless an understanding comes to you that this entire creation is in fact God, you are not really spiritual. You don't need to uh, pacify or entertain some God high up in the clouds. God is not a politician. But unfortunately, that is how people understand, and their relationship with God has become like that. So this beautiful teaching of Amma, I think, can really revolutionize the way, not only the way we think about ourselves and God, it can revolutionize this entire world, actually. If everybody could just realize this world would be without any wars. This world would be such a beautiful place. So on this auspicious day of Gita Jayanti, I pray to the divine that may we all be able to see this oneness of creation and the creator. May people from all religions be able to realize that the creator or God is not different from what we see around us. Let us serve each other. That is the message of Amma's life. Let us serve each other. Let us love each other. Let us be of use to the society. Let us serve Mother Nature. I think that will be a life worth living, a life of a real human being. Otherwise, it is just a life of an animal. May the divine bless all of us. I pray to Amma that may the divine grant us this knowledge, this understanding, May these ancient truths, which have been told in our scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, etc., may humans around the world realize these truths, and may this world become a heaven where people love each other, people love nature, and people serve each other. Thank you once again for joining today, and hope to meet you soon with contemplation on another teaching of Amma. Namaskar.